Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to podcast to be named later. I'm Joe. That's Manish. We got Burge in the house as well. We're here to talk some football. We're going to send it around the league, talk some Patriots. But first, let's chop it up, boys. What's going on, dude? I am pumped up for football season.
I cannot wait. I've been waiting for this day since February. I've been waiting for this night since February, getting back to talk football with you two guys.
Well, we're Pats fans, so we've been waiting since like very early January.
As an Eagles fan, it's been a fun off season. It's been a fun off season. Now, I can't say I've been waiting for this season to start since February, but yeah, it's pretty exciting. You know, every time this year, it's pretty cool because no matter who you talk to, regardless of who they root for, unless you're like a fan of like the Saints, I guess, who have like no chance this year, pretty much anybody you talk to as a football fan is really excited because there's always a hope that your team can make it to the playoffs, or if you are a fan of the Eagles, then you can repeat. So yeah, a lot of fun, a lot of storylines, a lot of stuff has happened, since the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and I'm sure we'll dive right into that.
Isn't being the best like so fun? Like you're like, dude, just so much.
Well, I mean, you guys enjoyed it for like 15 years.
I was a dickhead for like 6 months, more than I usually am.
The funny part about all of that is that I'm on a group thread, like I'm sure you guys are, with some close buddies, all of which are Eagles fans in my case, and the entire theme this offseason really wasn't like enjoying the Super Bowl. It was more like every other day there was a discussion about Jalen Hurts and whether he's an elite quarterback or a top 10 quarterback, and
if he's better than Cam Newton or not.
Yeah, we had spirited conversations. We actually just had one a few hours ago. So like enjoying the Super Bowl is really not part of the DNA of most Eagles fans. There's always something to talk about or complain about, and at least among my group of friends, that was no different.
You guys are just like Boston fans. It's great.
Well, that Super Bowl was very enjoyable for pretty much the entire NFL. Let's be real. Like,
right.
It had to be the fucking Eagles, though. It couldn't have been.
I know.
No offense, Manish, but like, did it have to? It had to be the. We had to lay down our swords. You ever seen that fucking meme where it's the Bloods and the Crips and they've got like the towel, the red and the blue handkerchiefs like tied together? Yeah. That's like Boston and Philly fans like during like trying to take down the Chiefs. We're just like, honestly, fuck it, like whoever.
Couldn't have been the Lions. It couldn't have been the Lions.
Come exactly. On. Yeah. But hey, Manish, I actually when you were talking about when you were just talking about how like this offseason's been with you and your buddies, it kind of triggered me thinking about like the Celtics run in 2024, and they brought up all the Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum where they are all time questions. It's bringing up the same questions as Jalen Hurts, who's like a multifaceted guy, kind of like Jason Tatum, who doesn't get a lot of love like nationally and historically. But like, did you feel so that Philly team was fucking loaded? I think. They won the Super Bowl by 10 points, right? 10 to at least 2 scores, right? And so
it wasn't close.
Yeah, it was. I don't want to say it was like a foregone conclusion that the Eagles were going to win last year, but especially after they got Saquon, they were a prohibitive favorite. Did that take away from like? Because I know like they definitely did with the Celtics. Like when we got the Mavs and we knew we were going to win the championship, it was still sweet and it was still awesome, but it did take away a little bit. Like, it was almost like a foregone conclusion at that point. And I feel like Philly was such a wagon last year that at some points, I mean, I think what was the first play from scrimmage was a Saquon, like, 60-yard touchdown in the playoffs. So, like, I don't know. Did that take away from it at all? Long-winded question.
I don't think it took away from it. If anything, a couple years ago when the Eagles are kind of steamrolling through the league, that was a more boring regular season than last year. Last year, as we found out as the season wore on in the offseason, there was a little bit of internal friction with the organization. They had an early bye week. They weren't playing particularly well. Entering their bye week, Jalen Hurts specifically wasn't playing particularly well. And Nick Sirianni and Kellen Moore really scrapped their offensive game plan. Instead of leaning and revolving the offense around Hurts, they said, why don't we just turn around and give it to Saquon as often as possible? And that turned out to be, the perfect strike for them. If you look at their offense, it was a top 10 offense, I believe 7th in scoring, but the run pass success was wildly different. They had a 2,000-yard rusher. They were, I think, 29th in passing. So it was such a departure of what the NFL or the perception of the NFL is now, which is you got to win through the air. Yeah, I would be very interested to see what the blueprint is this year. Eagles have a new offensive coordinator, Kevin Patullo, who's an internal hire, promotion. Will they lean on Saquon Barkley? As you guys know, and I think most football fans have figured out by now, guys who come off 2,000-yard seasons don't have that type of success the following year. And Saquon, I believe, is the oldest guy to get 2,000 yards. He's about 28 now. Wow. So, sprinkle in the fact that he has had some injury issues earlier in his career with the Giants. I don't think the Eagles can run it back the exact same way they did last season. So it'll be incumbent upon Jalen Hurts to step up. And, I'm of the belief that just because your team is great, that doesn't automatically mean that every player is great, including your quarterback. And I've probably been Jalen Hurts' harshest critic among my circle of friends. Not to say that he's a terrible player. He's obviously not. But, the notion of putting him in the same category as Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, to me, is kind of laughable. I don't think he's anywhere near the player that those guys are, but he's clearly good enough with the stars around him, specifically the 3 or 4 Pro Bowl caliber offensive linemen, a 2,000-yard running back, a top 5 wide receiver in A.J. Brown, and oh, by the way, the number 1 defense in the NFL last year. When you have all those pieces in place, your job is not to screw it up, and clearly Jalen Hurts did not screw it up in this season.
He fits right in. He fits right into what they're doing down there, and obviously he's the master of the tush push. Right? The tush push, all those fantasy points that I get on my fantasy team every year from those tush pushes. I love it. I'm happy they didn't outlaw it, despite my actual, true football opinions about it. He fits right into what they're doing there. And obviously, by winning the Super Bowl, especially in the fashion that they did against the Chiefs, he fits. But I'm in agreement with you, Manish. I wouldn't put him in that category with Patrick Mahomes and Allen.
I think he I think he benefits from being an excellent leader, in a good way and a bad way, because I think that even though when a lot is put on his shoulder, sometimes that offense goes sideways. I think he could be telling the coaching staff that he wants to throw the ball more and maybe throwing his weight around and stuff like that, but he doesn't. He fits right into the like you said, Birch. He fits right into the scheme, and I think having a quarterback like that, especially his demeanor and his, I guess, polished nature at the podium, especially in a city like Philly, I think he's perfect for the situation on and off the field there. I just think it's crazy that I think he's a great example of people nowadays just think that everything that happens now is the best thing ever. Cam Newton could quite possibly be the best dual threat ever to play the game. Not just quarterback, ever to play the game. Deion Sanders was a dual threat, I consider. And then you have guys like Bo Jackson, and you guys got Michael Vick, you got Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, and Cam Newton. But go look at who Cam Newton, Devin effing Funches. Are you serious? Some of the guys.
I think he was a high draft pick. I want to say he was a top first or second round draft pick.
He was a tight end for the last 8 years of his career.
You're thinking of Kelvin Benjamin, I think. That's who you're thinking of. Kelvin Benjamin. That's who
Kelvin Benjamin, right? Yeah. You know who Kelvin Benjamin's quarterback?
Yeah.
The Kelvin Benjamin's quarterback in college was, right? He's still playing.
Kelvin Benjamin, didn't he go to Clemson?
No, he went to Florida State.
Oh, Jameis Winston.
Jameis Winston, that's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Famous Jameis, dude. Famous Jameis.
I think all the points that you raise about Hurts are valid, both of you guys. The question becomes, can you lean on him to win games consistently? Because he has been inconsistent. I think he had the fewest pass attempts in the NFL among the starting quarterbacks last year. So, he fits right in when you have a 2,000-yard running back like Saquon Barkley. The odds of that happening again are, pretty slim. So can you ask him to, turn around, throw the ball 30, 35 times consistently and win? I just haven't seen it. He's been in the league for several years. And, I think he's a good player. I think he's probably and I'm low when you look at lists around the league and consensus. I think he's probably in the top 12 to top 15, which would be slightly better than average. And I know Eagles fans don't like hearing that. They say he's a Super Bowl MVP. Well, there's plenty of guys who are Super Bowl MVPs who weren't, elite passers. And so the question for me as an Eagles fan, and even just generally as a football fan, is that if the league does focus heavily on shutting down Saquon Barkley, can Jalen Hurts do what he did to his credit in the Super Bowl when Spags basically said, Saquon's not going to beat us. So the defense, in effect, beat the Chiefs. But when Jalen Hurts had opportunities, he did fully take advantage of them in the Super Bowl. Can he do that consistently over the course of a regular season? Because I think that is how defenses are going to attack Philadelphia. Make Jalen Hurts beat you. And if he can consistently, then the Eagles will find themselves back in the Super Bowl. I just haven't seen it yet, so I think it's fair to raise those questions. I kind of dismiss the notion that you're a quote unquote hater if you bring up these critiques of Jalen Hurts. Especially in Philadelphia, he walks on water. He's a Super Bowl MVP, quarterback of the team that just won the franchise's second Super Bowl in its history. So you got to tread lightly around here when you talk about Jalen Hurts. But if you're being objective about it, there's nothing in his history that leads me to believe that he can consistently lead a team, to a Super Bowl. He can be a part of the puzzle. He can be a passenger, but can he be the driving force? I haven't seen it. That's not to say he can't do it. I haven't seen it to this point.
Well, I think that as soon as he signs that contract as well, that brings that all of what you just said into focus. You know what I mean? When you start getting that percentage of the salary cap, now you have to make up for everywhere else that they can't spend money. And that brings up they have to keep hitting in the draft. Obviously, they've got something going on the offensive line. They've got something going in the wide receiver room where they can kind of get pass catchers and guys that rush the passer kind of out of nowhere. But you're going to start seeing they can't pay everybody on that offensive line every year. If they just signed AJ Brown, thank God Saquon isn't a big ticket, you know what I mean? But they have AJ Brown, who I think it's top 5 or top 10 in his position. I think Jalen Hurts is top 5, top 10 paid at his position now. You have an expensive defense. So I think it's going to come down to Howie Roseman and kind of how they can keep that team together and keep drafting. A team like that who has kind of kept it together here, who I think isn't going away no matter how much people are going to kind of prey on their downfall, is the Chiefs. They got a big hit after Reese Rice hit somebody on the fucking highway and got suspended for 6 games.
Nice.
That was bad.
Nice.
But dude, I just think people are like, I'm down on the Chiefs. Yeah, I might bet against them the first 6 weeks. I might find a good spot to bet against them. I don't think they might be a classic 11-6 team or a 10-7 team who might not win their division. Or they're the classic team. Just get them in the tournament and they're gonna make some noise. I don't care. Patrick Mahomes, you could be trotting out there. This crew right here, Joe, Manish, and Burge, playing the X, Y, and Z, dude.
Okay.
We would put up some noise. So I don't know what you guys' thoughts on the Chiefs are. I think the Reese Rice injury suspension kind of opens the door for maybe another team in that division to maybe sneak in and have a good season. But I don't think anything that's happened to the Chiefs, but maybe besides a certain marriage, is going to take them down at all.
I mean, I view them more as kind of it seems like the pack is growing in the AFC. When I was looking at this, it's hard for me to really pick the true standouts. You always knew when the Patriots were going to be there, they always were okay, they're the number one. You knew that was going to be the way it was. Looking at it this year, there's a lot of good teams in the AFC. So I think that the Chiefs, I think you're spot on with what you said about get them in the tournament and they're going to make noise. It's kind of how it was last year a little bit. But their division, I mean, if Bo Nix takes another step forward, Denver they got a good defense there in Denver. The Chargers, another year under Harbaugh with one-eyed Najee Harris, out there blowing his eye out. I think that there's a lot that we're going to find out in the first month of the season to see where the Chiefs are going to end up. Like you said, the certain marriage, the distraction there, who knows? I'm sick of hearing about it, so I would love for that to be. Let me rephrase that. I'm so sick of hearing it. I would love for that to be the only thing we hear about the Kansas City Chiefs this year. I know that's not going to be the case, but yeah, I mean,
it's. Well, let me just say that my wife is a huge Taylor Swift fan. Let's get that out of the way. So So I find out more about Travis Kelce now than I've ever known in my entire life, and I've covered football for 15 plus years. As far as on the field goes, the Chiefs were like the worst 15-win team last season. It sounds funny because they won 15 games, but
Sounds like
they won on fluky plays. It was they got help from refs down the stretch. They just like every bounce went the right way for them last season, and then ultimately found themselves one way and went from another Super Bowl. Do I think that they're going to fall off the cliff? No, because as long as Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are there, that's virtually impossible. Now, just to touch on what you said, Burge, I think the AFC West is absolutely loaded. I am a huge fan of Sean Payton and Jim Harbaugh. I think two of the top 5 head coaches in the NFL, based off of their history and their accomplishments in the league. Sean Payton, year 3, Bo Nix, year 2. I think they win the division. I don't think it's going to be a runaway, of course, because the Chiefs are there and the Chargers are there. I think the Chargers took a hit because they lost their Pro Bowl left tackle, Rashawn Slater. So that's going to be a little bit tougher than I think maybe Harbaugh and Justin Herbert had anticipated. But I think they'll be right in the mix for a wild card. I just love the Broncos' defense, as you said, Burge. But more than that, even their offensive line, which doesn't get talked about a lot, but it's probably a top 5 offensive line in the league. J.K. Dobbins, who was on the Chargers last year, signs I think a 1-year deal, 2-year deal, something short. They drafted R.J. Harvey, a kid who's got some potential. But most of all, I'm a big believer in Bo Nix, and a year ago I wouldn't have said anything close to that. But if you watch Bo Nix play, specifically in the second half of his rookie season, things started to click. And when you got a guy like Sean Payton kind of molding him, coupled with the defense and the offensive line, I think they are primed to not only make the playoffs, but to finally topple Kansas City in the division. I would not be surprised if 3 teams from the AFC West made the playoffs. I mean, that's what I'm predicting. Typically, that doesn't happen. But I think those 3 teams are good enough to be playoff teams. I certainly think 2 of those teams will make the playoffs. But when we get to the prediction part of the conversation, I'm going to say all 3 are going to make the playoffs. Just a huge believer in what Sean Payton does, how he coaches, how he builds teams, organizations, and it's prime time for him. It's year 3. I think this is the year that they break through and make some noise.
And I think just a threat overall to the Chiefs, not just in their division. I think the AFC West is now stacked. I mean, you've got quarterbacks all over the place in that league. You know what I mean? You can make an argument that at the end of this year, you could have 3 of the top 10 quarterbacks in the league in the same division in the AFC West. That's a big jump for Bo Nix, but still, I don't think it's crazy after like what you said. What you saw him do at the end of last year is the leap-wise. If he starts making a leap like that again, we're gonna have the top 10 conversations. But I think a team that has changed their personnel, but has also changed their approach this year that I'm really looking to challenge the Chiefs in the AFC. It's a chalk pick, but dude, I think the Bengals have something different going. I think they finally got all their pieces signed. You really didn't hear them. There's a little bit of selling TVs out of the back of the fucking stadium bullshit kind of noise. But like, I don't think you've really heard anything besides, hey, they're taking the beginning of training camp and the first preseason game a little bit more serious than they usually do. They were a really laid back team. And dude, even the team like the Patriots popped them at the beginning of the season last year. So I think that team seems to be, I'm not the biggest Zach Taylor guy, but it seems to me like they're starting to learn a little bit from their mistakes. And I'm just not a guy that bets against Joe Burrow. That is a cold ass. That is a cold man right there. And I think that with all of the noise outside of the locker room quelled and him being able to focus on his team and not have to kind of thwart all the I mean, dude, you saw him and Zach Taylor yelling at each other on the sidelines during that after wins, dude. Like, I think that team could get so much better and be so much more cohesion. And I think if that talent is all pulling in the same direction, they're going to be an absolute force.
So you're not concerned at all of that clip of Joe Burrow in the preseason where his offensive line was standing around watching him run around back there getting popped, right? You're not worried about their offensive line?
That's That's water off a duck's back up there at this point, dude.
My concern, everything you said about Burrow and the offense is all legit, and I don't think their offense is going to be an issue like it wasn't an issue last year. I think there's a lot of firepower there. I have some real concerns about their defense. And even though it's preseason, you don't want to jump to conclusions. Their starters on defense also played the preseason. Obviously, Trey Hendrickson wasn't a part of the equation. But if you look at the second and third level of their defense, it's terrible. and I don't see any indication that it's going to be markedly improved. So can they win their fair share of shootouts? Absolutely. And I think they will because Burrow, Higgins, Chase Brown, all those guys are dynamic, skill position players. I just don't think their defense has improved enough in the offseason with the defensive coordinator change. I don't think it's improved enough in the offseason to make any legit noise. Now, can they contend for a wild card spot? I mean, there's 7 wild card teams, so 7 playoff teams. So sure, I think they can be in the mix, but ultimately, I think their defense is absolutely horrible, and I don't really think it's that much improved from a year ago.
Do you guys think it's the Bills' year to get it done?
No.
Yes. That's my Super Bowl pick. Spoiler.
Oh wow.
Yeah, this is going to be an insufferable season. It's going to be an insufferable season. Just real quick, talking about the Bengals, they got to get off to a better start in the first month of the season. They are statistically, historically, just slow. Zach Taylor's won one of his opening games in his time in Cincinnati. And obviously last year, losing to the Patriots gave, idiot me taking the Kool-Aid, false hope about the Patriots last year, telling Manish, hey, the Patriots could start 3-0.
That's right. I remember that.
I was wrong. But yeah, it's all going to depend on how they start the season, because they seem to be a team that likes to get behind the 8 ball and then tries to claw their way back.
Yep.
It's not the Bills' year, though. I'd take Cincinnati in a heartbeat over Buffalo. Always.
Is that your heart talking or your head?
Both.
Dude, I'd take Joe Burrow one game over fucking Patrick Mahomes, dude. Like I believe in Joe Burrow as like a winner. And I think that sometimes that stuff just like this is like, with the Jalen Hurts shit. Sometimes that just like when that permeates in the locker room and everybody's bought in, like you can mask Manish, you just said the effing Eagles just had the least amount of pass attempts and fucking won the goddamn Super Bowl. Why can't the Bengals fucking have a little bit of a shitty defense? Be the 2011 Pats, dude. Go to the Super Bowl. Go to the Super Bowl with a horrible defense.
To win every game 45-41?
Honestly, dude, I just got NFL Sunday ticket. I'll be watching a lot of Bengals, so I'm so down if they start winning some shootouts. Got Jamar Chase in fantasy. That's a lot of wins for Joe on the calendar. But so there's a little bit of what we would call coaching carousel. A little bit this offseason. There was a lot of trades. Or not a lot of trades, a lot of big trades, a lot of a decent amount of player movement here. It's up to you guys. You guys want to go player movement, or you guys want to talk about some new head coaches real quick?
I'm a coach's guy.
Let's go head coaches. Yeah, let's go head coaches.
Perfect.
Talk to me. Who wants to go first? Who's your most intriguing hire? Go.
All right, I got to be the homer. I got to talk about Mike Vrabel. I got to talk about Mike Vrabel in New England. Should have happened, before the 2024 season? It should have been he should have been the guy. I think Joe, we talked about wanting him here back then, and
I think we were both in on him. That was like one agreement that we did have.
Yeah, there's not many. But no, I'm just watching training camp and watching how this team has sort of come together. You need to have that kind of that CEO kind of head coach like Mike Vrabel is. He's the guy that's going to create the culture, and he's creating a culture that, again, 2 years ago, I wanted this New England Patriots team to have, not the Gerard Mayo culture where they didn't know what the hell they were doing. And now I'm not saying it's going to click immediately. I mean, there's a lot of old faces back. Like obviously Josh McDaniels is running the offense. And quite frankly, I was in the camp of please leave Josh McDaniels by the end of Belichick's last year that he was here? I forget. We were talking about it. I was done with Josh McDaniels, and every time he comes here, I'm happy he comes back, and then he just wears out his welcome with me. But with a young quarterback like Drake May, he's exactly the kind of guy that I want coaching him. If it's not going to be, a Sean McVay or somebody like that, Josh McDaniels. He's always been a successful head offensive coordinator. Geez, I almost just said successful head coach. We all know how that always works out. But I'm very intrigued to see what he does with Drake May in this offense. I love having Stephon Diggs here in New England. Obviously he's at the tail end of his career, so he's not the same guy, but he brings kind of a veteran presence there. A guy we didn't have last year. Let's be real. We didn't have a guy his pedigree last year. And, the biggest part of Josh McDaniels that I'm looking to see is how he utilizes the running backs with Travion Henderson. Antonio Gibson can still play as a pass catcher. And I think by the time we get towards the end of the season, we won't really be talking about Ramondre Stevenson much anymore, even though I love the guy. I just think he's going to get surpassed on that depth chart. But the screen game, again, hated it when Mac Jones was here because we wanted to see him air the ball out. But that's the kind of offense right now, given the personnel, I think is going to be successful for this team. And Mike Vrabel just has impressed me. I love how he's calling out, like, making these comments in the media about the rats and all this and that. Like, it's a nice change. And I'm very intrigued to see where he takes this Patriots team. Again, I'm expecting an improvement. Could they make the playoffs? Sure. But probably not. They'll probably be kind of that bubble. I expect them to be a bubble team at the end, maybe just miss out or sneak into a 7 spot. But I'm excited to hopefully watch some meaningful football this year and not have to sit here and listen to everybody say, lose the game for the draft pick. That's not me. We all know that's not me. So yeah, go Pats and Vrabel, win me some games. No more draft picks.
I just think it's so refreshing to have a professional operation again. You know what I mean? And I think that you need to have an alpha who's very assured in himself and knows what he's doing and has the experience to put people in their place when they're acting out of line. And I think that the last 2 years of Bill in the first year and only year, thank God, of Gerard Mayo, I think there was just a lack of professionalism, a lack of attention to detail, a lack of doing the little things right. And I think that's what Mike Vrabel has come in here and done is he's done a lot of the little things right. He controls the media at the podium. There's not a lot of dissecting of what he says. Of course, Felger and Maz are going to go on and stuff like that. But there was how many times last year did they say they were doing one thing at the podium and then the team does one thing after or before the press conference? There was a million different examples you could bring up of his messaging not aligning with the team actually does. And I think that's something that even though it might sound like remedial, I think that is a huge thing for organizational excellence. If you're asking your players to do excellent things and you're riding all of your players super hard to be perfect, then you also have to be doing those same things and leading by example. So I think it was hard for Gerard Mayo. He's put in a lose-lose situation last year. He's put in a situation where he wasn't ready. He was inexperienced. He was working in corporate America like less than 5 years before he gets like an NFL head coaching job. And I don't know. I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but I think the how his career ended and how he went out, I think shows maybe like I think his brain maybe wasn't wired for hardcore football. If you get like Mike Vrabel is like a psycho about football, and I don't know if Gerard was that same way. And I think that with a young team that really needs to put in every effort, make every tackle, and kind of like not really give up when they really don't have any margin for error, I think an intense coach who plays attention to detail and is quite frankly a hard ass, I think that's exactly what the team needs. Talk about a great fit like Jalen Hurts. I think Mike Vrabel might not be the best coach in the league, but I think he's a great fit for the Patriots.
100% agree.
I think he's a great coach. I mean, the fact that he's not a play caller doesn't necessarily mean anything to me. You know, Mike Tomlin, John Harbaugh, they're not play callers. They've been around with a fair amount of success for the better part of 2 decades. So I think the play caller thing gets a little bit, over discussed. When talking about whether a guy's a good head coach or not, commanding the entire roster, setting a culture. They sound like cliches, but those are really imperative when you're bringing in a new guy. And what I find interesting is that, and Burge, you and I have talked about this at different points. I love Mike Vrabel for a number of different reasons. Personal experiences with him, and talking to people that have worked with him, worked for him. He is clearly somebody who exudes leadership. You can't be around Mike Vrabel for more than 15 minutes and not understand that he is a great leader. Now, he's going to need players, and that takes time. And I'm with you, Burge. I think they're going to make some kind of spike and maybe be in the playoff mix. Ultimately, I think they'll fall short, maybe win 8 games or so, somewhere in the 8-9 range would be more than double what they won a year ago. I think they can be an 8-9 team. The biggest question for me is offensive line. Like, I mean, I don't know how good their offensive line is going to be, but I think the larger question is when you look at the NFL landscape. I don't know how you could interview Mike Vrabel, and I don't remember how many interviews he actually had after the Titans parted ways with him. But I don't know how you can have an interview with him and not hire him. I mean, maybe somebody else wows you, but there's such a calming presence about him. He talked about the rats. I think you referred to that, Birch, in terms of leaking injury information. But there's a way that he speaks, which everybody in the room knows that he's not an asshole. If you didn't know him, maybe you would think, well, this guy's a little rough around the edges. But there's a side to him. If you're around him and you cover him, and I'm sure some of the Patriots reporters are learning this now, he's got a way about him that's very I don't know, magnetic. I think that players will see that, coaches see that. I know coaches who have worked with him in the past have told me similar things about him. The guy is a leader, and he doesn't put up with a lot of BS, but it's not like you can't be your own person. And no disrespect to Bill Belichick, but you're going to have Patriots players saying things that they would never have dared say if they were playing under Bill Belichick. So that's not who Mike Vrabel is. Is he a disciplinarian? Absolutely. But he's got his own style and his own way about him. And I just think that people love following him. He's a guy who you want to play for and you want to coach for. And that's like half the battle, to be honest with you. Now, I've talked to enough players and coaches throughout the year, assistant coaches throughout the year, who they don't believe in the guy in charge. If you don't believe in the guy in charge, even subconsciously, you're not going to put forth 100% effort, whether it's during the practice week or in coaching your players. I just think that was it a year? Would they have been better served if they hired him a year ago? Absolutely. But the important point is that he is here now, and I think that bodes well for the short term and the long term future of the franchise. All that being said, since you talked about Mike Vrabel, I'm going to talk about Liam Cohn, who's the Jaguars head coach. Kind of a flaky guy initially, but I think he's a brilliant offensive play caller. This is coming from a completely different place. He actually is a play caller, whereas Vrabel isn't. I just think he's such a good play caller that he's going to inject life into the Jaguars. I think they're actually going to win the division. He comes in a spot where he's in probably the weakest division in the NFL. It's just ripe for the taking. And he's got a pedigree quarterback who was underachieved for a number of different reasons. But, the foundation is there for Trevor Lawrence. I think that what the Jags are going to do this year are going to surprise people. They're not going to be a 15-win team, but they're going to win a weak division. They're going to make the playoffs, and that's going to be primarily because of the guy in charge and Liam Cohn. So I'm a believer in Trevor Lawrence. I've been criticized for that to this point because he hasn't lived up to the number 1 overall pick status. But there's just a lot of talent there. Brian Thomas Jr., second-year wide receiver out of LSU, showed so many flashes in the last month or so of last season. They, by the way, drafted another potentially dynamic wide receiver and maybe cornerback, but certainly a dynamic wide receiver in Travis Hunter. I think they've got enough pieces in play to win a weak division, and that's the team that I'm going to look at because over the last decade or so they repeatedly lose. I just think that's going to change with this new head coach here.
I'm all my first year coach energy besides Vrabel is focused on the Chicago Bears because that would be such a wonderful disaster. They're like, oh my God, the Lions did it. Let's take a piece of their magic and see if they can rub off on us. Haha, it did, but just in a completely different way. You fucking sorry for my innuendos in my language, but I think that has the potential. That is the classic team talk about a team that needed a guy like Mike Vrabel. That is the classic team that needs a hard ass to go in there and kind of clean house, kick asses, pull people up by their shirt collars, tell them what they're supposed to be doing, and kind of be the alpha in the room. So I think that could be, and on paper, X's and O's wise, it could be a beautiful marriage between that dude's timing and space offense and Caleb Williams. If Caleb Williams can figure out how to get the damn ball out on time, I think that could be an excellent marriage there. But I think that is a classic. I don't think there's any way that team is 8-9 or 9-8. That team is fucking 10, 11 wins, or that team is 4 wins. Like, I feel like they're gonna be there's no in between for the Bears this year, and I don't see them winning double digit games, especially in that division.
They have too many weapons on offense. They have too much talent to not. So, like you said, it would be Lions magic for them to go in there and just have it just blow up in their face.
Well, dude, it's just like what I understand, like putting like a core, and I wanna circle back to the variable stuff too, but we'll talk Pats and we'll go Pats specific in a minute. But like, what are these? There's people who have infinite amounts of money, and they're so much smarter and better than everything to me. And I'm just a guy with a fucking microphone in a 2,000 square foot house in the middle of nowhere, South Carolina. I fucking get it, and it doesn't make any sense. But like, you take a guy who's never been a head coach in football, and you put him with an unsure fucking quarterback who has maturity and like all these other questions, and it's like, why don't these? I feel like these coach quarterback mixes and combinations are so important nowadays that I don't know why. Like, Dayball not drafting Shedeur Sanders and having that smile on his face is because he knows that coach quarterback connection has to be special. And I think the Commanders did it right. Look what the Commanders did. They get a defensive minded CEO head coach. They get a washout OC genius to pair with their young quarterback. So the guy leading the team, the guy stern guy leading the team and molding the personality is a different guy than the X and O's. I look at the Patriots. They put a defensive minded, hard ass alpha Mike Vrabel in position, and then they have a defensive wizard. Look at the Eagles. Sirianni is a defensive guy, right?
Offensive.
Oh, never mind. But regardless, dude, they have Sirianni, who's more of a CEO head coach. You had a high paid offensive coordinator and a stacked team. Like, I just think that like pairing the offensive whiz kid like Kingsbury and fucking Kyler Murray, that didn't work. Like, Doug Peterson and fucking Trevor Lawrence, that didn't fucking work. So it's like, I just think that when you have to pair these young guys, especially guys with, no offense, Caleb Williams, you're an immensely talented guy, but holy crap, is there so much other to talk about than off the football field and between your ears. Like, I just think that it should be it's so obvious to me, but like, I just don't know how these coaches, these owners, they still just hire coaches and they're just looking for lightning in a bottle and they're looking for like the hot new fad, when it's just like, sometimes these answers are so like, sometimes it's so obvious. It's so in your face. Like, stop pairing first year head coaches who have never done it with first and second year quarterbacks. Like, it doesn't work.
They're just searching for the next Sean McVay. That's what they're trying to find.
Oh, dude,
they're trying to find that.
Herbert, sorry. I'm just throwing more grenades onto my argument. Keep going, Bears.
I'm just saying that the trend in the NFL is they want the young, up and coming, flashy, offensive minded head coach. I've never wanted that. Like, I wanted Vrabel from the beginning. Like, when we were talking about Ben Johnson possibly coming to New England, like, I was like, he's the second choice. Like, if we lose out on Vrabel for some reason, but like, something about having an offensive play caller as your head coach. There's just something about it for me, or even a play caller in general as a head coach. I know there are people that are very successful at it, but there's just something about it to me where like you talk about, Joe, like the CEO alpha, like the leader of the team doesn't have his hands really involved in that on game day. Like, he's got his coordinator calling the plays, and that's his focus, where the head coach can now solely focus on managing the game.
Well, the thing is like, dude, Josh McDaniels won 10 effing games with Mac effing Jones, dude. You know why? As soon as Mac Jones got off the field, he sat next to Josh McDaniels on the iPad, and they went over every step he took when he was on the field as a rookie. Mm-hmm. And guess what Bill was doing? He was coaching the other side of the fucking football. And that
coaching
team,
the game.
that garbage dumpster fire team went 10-7 and went to the playoffs and got their doors blown off by the Bills. Like, there's so many ways that you can get teams like that to like a mediocre status, that like having the number 1 overall pick quarterback Caleb Williams or Drake May, like that. I'm gonna go back to, I almost had an aneurysm when Manish was talking. You're like, oh, we have him now. Oh, we have him now. We just waste a year of fucking Drake May. We have him now. Woo! I was asleep in the third quarter of fucking 15 out of 17 games last year. We just wasted a season. It's these guys, they don't play forever anymore. I know the quarterback is starting to play longer because of some of the rules are changing and stuff like that. But like, I understand, Manish, you are completely right. But as like a Homer fan, it's just like, so like we were just talking about how obvious this shit is. It's just like, you thought that giving a guy who was working for fucking State Street 3 years ago a raw 21-year-old quarterback who had 21 starts in college, like in what on, and then you give him Alex Van effing Pelt, and like I just think that sometimes like these owners like almost outsmart themselves in like putting these duos together and putting these teams together at a high level.
Well, there's no one right way to hire a coach. You can win with the CEO coach. You can win with the young offensive play caller. The 49ers, outside of last year, have been one of the best teams in the NFC, and their head coach has been calling plays since Jump Street. So, and Andy Reid, for the majority of his time, has been calling plays. He's handed it off here and there. And I'm a little skeptical about whether he completely is hands off in game, but you can win either way. Just circling back to what you said, Joe, about the Bears and Ben Johnson. I'm sure Ben Johnson, he's not getting dumber by going to Chicago. He's got the same great ideas, but the reason that they were successful last year is that Jared Goff could absorb all of that information and quickly process that information in game and then deliver the ball to all the different weapons. And I think Bert, you mentioned the Bears have all these different weapons. That's great, but you need a quarterback who can understand what the play caller is trying to get accomplished so that he can get the ball to these guys so they can make plays and utilize their physical skill sets. So there's a big difference between Jared Goff in his whatever, I don't know, 8th year, 9th year, whatever he is in the league, and Caleb Williams just starting off his career essentially. So I think there'll be some growing pains, not because Ben Johnson necessarily is not a good head coach, but because the quarterback that he currently has probably isn't at the level that he needs to be to run that type of offense. And I've seen it plenty of times where you've got a lot of great ideas from your play caller, but they're not executed because the quarterback just isn't ready, or maybe he'll never be ready. I don't know, but the quarterback isn't, and I hate saying this, but he isn't smart enough at this stage of his career to be able to implement all these great ideas. And who gets criticized? Yeah, the quarterback probably gets criticized, but for the most part, the coaches take a lot of the heat. And I just think, if you just pull back the curtain a little bit, there's a lot of smart guys who can call great plays and have great designs, but the quarterback isn't good enough to execute those plays. Then the head coach doesn't look that smart, and then ultimately the head coach gets whacked a couple years down the road. So, yeah, I agree that the Bears are going to be a fascinating team. I don't have any doubts that Ben Johnson will do his part. The biggest question is Caleb Williams going to be the right quarterback for this system? And it sounds weird because he was the number one pick a couple years ago, but he wasn't the number one pick for this head coach. And depending on how things unfold this year, I'm wondering if the Bears will have to make a decision, believe it or not, at the quarterback position after the season. Maybe not, but I wouldn't rule that possibility out.
And I want to amend my head coach take. I would guess it's more about the infrastructure, not just about the head coach position itself. You know what I mean? That's, I guess, the head infrastructure of the brain trust that's kind of in charge of football. I think sometimes they get in their way. Now I'm just chasing my tail, but I couldn't agree more about the ideas versus implementation part. I mean, we saw it with Bill O'Brien here. I mean, Bill O'Brien runs a wonderful offense, has a bunch of great ideas, but when you have an absolute turd behind center, like, it doesn't really matter what ideas you can draw up in the sand, you won't be able to execute.
I love that turd. That's an appropriate term.
I'd probably rephrase that, but I agree with the gist of what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of Mac Jones' most recent team, I think, former team, I think I've got some high hopes for the Patriots this year, and it starts kind of where we've kind of taken this conversation in the head coach and brain trust route. I think putting somebody in charge of the football operation, getting Kraft out of there, getting Kraft the hell out of the football operation, putting an alpha male who knows what he's doing in charge is kind of halfway. Is a lot of what I think the improvement comes from. The roster's the roster. I think it's getting worse by the day with this Jabril Peppers cut. With Christian Gonzalez has no idea on his status for week 1 or even the first month of the season. Seems like he's going the Sauce Gardner route and taking a couple liberties to make sure he gets an absolute bag of Rooney this offseason. But I think everybody pulling in the same direction. I think Drake May having some stability between his ears. I think there's a lot of positives, but I have so many concerns still about this team. I don't know if they spent money in the right place. I don't know if Milton Williams. I don't even think he's the best defensive tackle. I don't even think he's the best interior lineman on the team right now. Robert Spillane's going to have to do a lot of the heavy lifting in the middle of that defense with Juwan Bentley gone and guys like Christian Effin Ellis being on the starting roster, especially when you have guys like Christian Gonzalez going down. I think when you have matchup guys on the outside and you can kind of just play some cover 2 shell with man on the outside and really get after the quarterback, it makes things a lot easier. And I think that's kind of how they set this team up. Is to get after the quarterback. That's what Variable likes to do, and I think it's going to be a little harder when you're down your number one. You're the best player on your effing team, probably the second best player in the division after Josh Allen, when you really think about how fucking good Christian Gonzalez is. But and then the concerns on the offensive line. You drafted a fucking T-Rex guard, number 4 overall, to play left tackle to protect the entire franchise. He looked all right, but there's still physical limitations there that could rear their ugly head. I still have questions about Drake May's maturity, and that's not to say he's out partying and drinking every night. That's just saying that I think he gets fired up. I think he's still a little bit of a pup. I think he needs to become more of a leader, more of a steely guy. You saw Tom Brady get fired up, but every time he was between the lines and the game was going on, he was locked in with laser focus. So I think there's a little bit of leadership qualities and intangibles, and still some physical qualities like his accuracy at the beginning of games that we're still trying to clean up from Drake May. And then there's the big question of the wide receiver room. Who the hell they got through cuts with 8 effing guys, then they cut 1 effing guy, and then they cut another effing guy. So now we're down to 6 effing guys, and 1 effing guy isn't even on an effing team yet. So I just think there's some talent there's some talent deficiencies on offense, but I think there's some really exciting things on both sides of the ball. Like, I think even though Milton Williams might be a question mark just because of his price tag, I think the front 7 is going to be legit. And I think that some of the backs and some of the quick passing game could be pretty dynamic with some of the playmakers they have, like Pop Douglas, Hunter Henry, Travion Henderson, Stephon Diggs. So that's kind of where I'm at with the Patriots this year. I'd love to kind of pick apart every single one of those kind of things here. Burge, I'll kind of toss it to you. Where do you see your kind of biggest hopes and your biggest kind of fears lie with the Patriots this year?
Well, my biggest hope, obviously, kind of similar with you, is like, let's just see the next step of Drake May, right? We want to see him take that next step. You got to remember, though, when you talk about his maturity and everything, the kid just turned 23 years old. So, like, he's still like, he's went into his second year in the league.
In the gutter when I was 23. This dude's the Patriots
we all were.
quarterback.
We all were, right? But like the stability part that you brought up, Joe, with having Josh McDaniels in there for, his offensive coordinator, it's probably the best thing of this offseason outside of the hiring of Mike Vrabel. Let's face it, like, Josh McDaniels is not a flight risk. Like, there's not going to be any teams coming at him to being like, hey, come run my franchise, come be my head coach. He's had his opportunities.
Give us the, hey, I'm coming. No, I'm not.
Yeah. Well, not even that. The guy's been a train wreck where he's been. He had a good year in Denver one year, and then it just went right down. So having that stability where we've seen in the last 4 years, it seems like it's been a revolving door of the offensive coordinator position. One year we had a defensive guy and a special teams guy calling plays for this offense here in New England. So like having that stability back with Josh McDaniels is key. And I think the most exciting thing that I'm hoping to see is just that next step. Like you said, cleaning up the early games, cleaning up the bad timed interceptions that we saw towards the end of last year at the end of the games. And again, just seeing that him continue to prove that he's going to be the guy here for a long time. I have the same concerns as you do with the offensive line, although I'm not like bashing Mr. T-Rex arm. I mean, that sounds like a little bit like Felger Maz over there. I didn't know we had him on the program tonight. He's raw still. We got to develop him a little bit, and I think that'll be, that'll work itself out in the end. Maybe he doesn't end up being a left tackle his entire time here. Maybe he's one of those guys that slides in, kind of like Michael when you did, slides into the guard position. Who knows? But there's definitely some concern there. And, the wide receiver room, when you talk about spending money in the right places, I still don't think they did enough to address how bad that room was last year when you're trotting out basically the same crew that you trotted out last year outside of Stephon Diggs. You're trotting out Pop Douglas again, who I think is a very good player. Do I want to count on him as like a number 2 receiver? No. Like, he's a good 3. He's a really good 3. And then you're still trotting out Kayshon Boutte. I mean, again, he had flashes last year, but like, you didn't get that elite target. You didn't get that elite receiver. Stephon Diggs is north of 30, coming off a bad knee injury. Who knows what he's going to look like when he steps on the field for the Patriots? So it's intriguing. You want to see where that offense takes that next step. I hope I have meaningful football to watch. I want to watch what's the word? Like a methodical offense again. Like, you want to watch something that like works, as opposed to some of the crap that we witnessed with Mac Jones over the last however many years.
I just don't want the offense to make me want to fucking cry every Sunday.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't blame you.
I'm right there.
The bar
right
is
there.
so low.
Well, look, I think, Bert, you talked about the wide receiver room and not really being very inspiring outside of bringing aboard an older Stephon Diggs, who's coming off a significant injury. You also have to keep in mind that Mike Vrabel did inherit a team whose last draft was basically a complete zero. I mean, outside of Drake May, there was 8. I think he might be the only guy that will make any kind of impact. Or, I mean, they've cut. Or
he's the only one left.
They've cut guys. Guys heard right. He's the only one. Is he the only one left out of the draft class? I mean, that's probably depending on how May's career
the
goes.
2022 draft class, they have one player left. It's Marcus Jones. They selected 8 players and one is on the roster.
Right. So 2022 and 2024, they didn't replenish their roster because of it. So it will take time. And you guys are right. The offensive line, I think, is a fair question to bring up. I'm actually a believer in Pop Douglas. He's, like you said, Burge, he's not, you don't want him to be your lead guy, but he's a guy who a young quarterback can kind of lean on. Same thing with Hunter Henry. The Trevion Henderson draft pick to me is fascinating because he is a guy who he's not going to be a bell cow. At least he hasn't been at any point, I don't believe, at any stage of his football life. He's always kind of shared time, but he's so dynamic that he can be a viable pass catcher, as a running back. He's going to probably get a handful of opportunities every single game to be in a position to make an explosive play. And you don't want to read too much into preseason, other than the fact that if you watch the preseason, you know that this guy is a big play waiting to happen. I've heard people liken him to like a souped-up James White. I think he's way better than James White. I get the comparison because James White played for the Patriots, but I think his skill set is far superior to that of James White.
I like the
so he's another.
Comp. That's my favorite one.
Okay, I mean that's fair. What I will say is that Jahmyr Gibbs is probably, in my estimation, the most dynamic player in the NFL, and maybe Trevion Henderson becomes that in another year or two. But he is such a weapon that, you look at your traditional wide receivers and say, those guys don't necessarily jump off the page. But when you're talking about improving your passing game, generally speaking, having this guy in your arsenal and having Josh McDaniel utilize him wisely, which I think he will, is invaluable to any quarterback, let alone a young quarterback in Drake May. So I do think that their offense is better, even if some of the faces are the same, because they have had a year to work with Drake May. So that automatically, you would think, makes them a step ahead of where they were at this point last year. Again, I think they're going to make a significant jump. I don't think they'll make the playoffs, but I'm a big believer in the quarterback, the head coach, the offensive coordinator. I just think that when you, are firmly locked in at those spots. You guys talked about Josh McDaniels being a great offensive coordinator. regardless of what his head coaching resume says. I think that's spot on. The guy is a great teacher for a young quarterback. They were smart to bring him back. We talked about Vrabel. Drake May, to me, has so much potential to be an elite level quarterback. Whether it happens in year 2 or not, that remains to be seen. I think ball security is something that he definitely needs to work on. And this is the time now at this stage of his career that he's got to button that up before it becomes a habit and before it potentially derails his career. Because it can happen. I've seen it happen in New York with Daniel Jones. A lot of talent, never could secure the ball in the pocket. And that, in addition to injuries, kind of sidetracked his path. I just think that Drake May has so much promise. They've got an improved supporting cast. Their division outside of Buffalo isn't particularly challenging in my estimation. I think the Dolphins take a step back. The Jets clearly are in rebuild mode. So there's going to be opportunities in the division to win some games as well. I think they're well positioned in Vrabel's first season to lay the groundwork for what I think could be a special season in 2026. But in 2025, I think they're going to take the proper steps forward because of all these good pieces in place at key spots.
And dude, what it popped into my head when you were saying the stuff about Josh McDaniels and the offense. It's like it finally, and it's shocking to say about this organization. It just finally feels like everything is working in cohesion. Like you have an offensive coordinator and you're drafting and signing players and molding the personnel to his play style. Dude, the Patriots' best teams, like the 14, 16, 18 teams, dude, those teams were just loaded with excellent route running pass catchers and dual threat guys. You had guys like James White, who scores 20 effing points in the 2016 28-3 comeback. You had guys like Rob Gronkowski, obviously, but he's a heady football player. You have guys like Danny Amendola. You had guys who the friggin' Chris Hogan, Julian Edelman. So there's all these guys who aren't they're not superstars, but they're always in the same spot at the right time. So I think that Josh McDaniels I think guys like Pop, I think Stephon Diggs at this point in his career, dude, look back what he did in the first 8 games with the Texans last year, dude. He was on pace for 100 catches and like 1,100 yards. He wasn't the same explosive guy that he was with the Vikings and when he was with the Bills. But I think Stephon Diggs, say what you want about the man in the locker room and off the field, but I think he's a baller and he knows how to play football. I don't think that he needs to be the fastest guy or the quickest guy on the field to get open and be productive. And I think that those are guys that Josh McDaniels can turn into excellent, productive Patriots. And I think that it's so encouraging to see, even though you have to eat like cuts like Jabril Peppers and stuff that you don't like to see. But I think that Vrabel is molding this team and letting McDaniels mold the offense into something that's a cohesive unit. Instead of all of these guys that you don't know if they're NFL players or they're not NFL players. No, get guys that even know that they might make a mental error or even know that they might be a little bit of a risk here or there, go after it. Get the talent. Get the pieces that you need to be successful, especially when you have a formulaic offense and a defensive-minded head coach. Like, you have to formulate the team to fit what you're trying to do. I think they got a lot of fast guys and a lot of dogs, and I think that something that has been speed and passion have been missing from this football team for the last couple of years, and I think they've met that problem head on with a lot of the acquisitions. Milton Williams, even though I've talked crap about him, there's stuff about him coming out from the first practice where he was like, dude, I'm so glad Mike Vrabel was hard on me. He was just like, you're a leader. You have to lead by example. Like, you're not taking a knee. You're not walking in between drills. You're jogging. You're the first one out. You're like giving it to him. And the way he responded made me think, like, okay, these guys believe in Vrabel. Everybody's pulling in the same direction. And there's been kind of these little pockets of like that stuff of kind of like what I said before of the professional operation. Imagine if fucking Stephon Diggs gets caught with having a little bit of fun with some Instagram models on a boat during Gerard Mayo's tenure. Imagine Gerard Mayo, corporate speak going to the fucking podium after that happened. Vrabel's like, dude, I'm agitated about it. We're handling it in-house. He'll be on the practice field tomorrow. Like, what do you guys want from me? Yeah, I'm pumped about him doing drugs. Like, obviously not. Like, dude, shut up. We're going to keep that in-house. He'll be at fucking practice tomorrow. What's next? Fuck you, Giardi. Like, literally, dude. Like, I don't know. It is just there's so many ancillary things that are encouraging. Yeah, there's talent deficiencies. Yeah, there's some players here or there that we could use improvement on, even a starting guy here, a position group here. But I think just the fact that everybody's pulling in the right direction is just like so much more encouraging. It's just like last year, you could tell we were all lying to ourselves. We were all fucking lying to ourselves, saying that Gerard Mayo they did the right thing hiring Gerard Mayo. We were all lying to ourselves, and it was apparent before they even took the field versus the Bengals, and the Bengals win was just lipstick on a pig. But yeah, I think Vrabel has been the driving force behind a lot of this change, and that kind of leads me into I think he might be able to be. I think he is the odds-on favorite, and he is my pick to be the coach of the year this year. What he can do, from what he can improve upon to last year to what he's already set in motion, kind of culture-wise, I think he has a really, really good shot at it. I have a couple other picks for different awards here, but I don't know if you guys want to back up my Vrabel pick, or if you have any other coach of the year kind of dark horses you want to get off your chest.
Yeah, I love Vrabel. I for the sake of variety, I'll say Liam Cohen wins Coach of the Year for all the other reasons that I outlined. What do you like, Birch?
I don't know. I like the Vrabel pick. I think that if he can get this
such homers.
How effing bad the Pats
homer.
were last year. Like
if they get into the playoff, if they secure that 7 seed and get in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's a lot.
If they win, they could win 8 games. 8 and be twice as good as they were last year.
I understand that, but I'm just saying, like, you got to give an 8-9 guy coach of the year, though. Like I feel like there'd be other options that are going to be better to choose if he gets that. That's why I'm saying
the
if
Patriots
he makes
are favored in a lot of games this year, so if you go 8-9, you're losing a lot of games as a favorite. So I agree that I don't think he wins at 8-9, but still 8-9. Just put it this way: the Pats were so bad, 8-9 is a success.
And have you guys seen the first half of the season, the schedule in the first 2 months?
Yeah.
There are a lot of winnable games in the first half of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if they won 5 of their first 8. I could see them being 5-3. That wouldn't be a shock to me.
Oh.
Now it gets harder in the second half.
To my ears.
I could see that. I would not be shocked if they were 4-4, 5-3 at the midway point.
If they are 5-3, if they are 5-3.
What?
Look at the schedule. The schedule is really okay.
Besides that Miami game in September, I think the first 2 months of the season are pretty easy.
Yeah, Raiders, Dolphins, Steelers, Panthers, Buffalo. Obviously, that's a loss.
That's a win.
Saints. That's in prime time in Buffalo, by the way.
I know.
Saints, Titans, Browns. Those are the first 8 games. I could definitely see them hovering around 500.
You could probably make the argument that maybe the Steelers throw out the Bills game, but maybe the Steelers game. And besides the Steelers game, they probably have the better coach and quarterback in every single one of those games, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think Miami's going to be easy. It's a road game. It's hot down there, in the second week of the season. So I think the potential roadblocks are, Miami, Pittsburgh, Buffalo. That's it. I mean, you got the Raiders, the Panthers, the Saints, the Titans, the Browns. Those teams are not world beaters. They have a legit chance of winning those games.
Dude, there's a chance that
we didn't even talk about the Jets.
The quarterback when we play the Browns.
I know.
Yeah, they don't play the Jets until week 11. But if you just look at the first couple months, there's an easy scenario where I see them being 4-4 at the break.
Dude, two of the last 7 games down the stretch to try to make the playoffs are against the Jets. That's fucking great.
Yeah.
Nice. Shout out.
Yeah, they're in rebuild mode. Well, you never know. Division games are tough, regardless of the record. You know that.
Justin Fields, dude. He stinks.
If he's it could be Tyrod Taylor by then. You never know.
Dude, I was at the Monday Night Horror show when the Bears beat the Patriots in the Bailey Zappi quasi comeback game, dude, and it was so funny because we had decent tickets. So we were in the corner of one of the end zones, and Mac Jones is playing hurt. Fucking Bill Belichick's calling fucking screenplays that he's throwing backwards, dude. It's it's the worst thing I'm ever watching. Crowd starts chanting Zappy. Me and all my buddies turn around. We're just like, dude, Like, I don't know what you think is going to get better here, but this is – I think he throws a touchdown pass. Plays goes absolutely crazy, and then they lose the game by 3 touchdowns on Monday night to the effing Bears, dude. It was awful. It was awful. That was the low point of the Belichick era to me. Maybe because I was there, but couple more picks for awards at the end of the season. I talked him up, kind of just tied back to what I was saying before. And this, I guess this kind of goes with Manish, your analysis as well, because they're going to be in a lot of shootouts. Give me Joe Burrow to win the MVP. I think the league is now Lamar Jackson and Mahomes out. I don't think Mahomes puts up the numbers anymore. I think Lamar got his couple. They gave the here damn award to fucking Josh Allen last year because everybody was complaining about it, even though Lamar Jackson was better eye test and numbers wise. But I think there's a big possibility that if Joe Burrow puts up the numbers that he's capable of up against those two guys, that he'll get this is kind of playing the numbers and playing a guy I like. So I think it's Burrow's turn to win an MVP.
Love it. I probably would have taken Burrow too, but it would be a boring podcast if I took the same guy that you took. So I'm going to take the guy that Burge loves, probably his favorite player in the NFL, Josh Allen, back to back. And I agree with you that he should not have won last year, but I think that it'll be deserving this year. It's weird because a couple years ago I thought he should have won. Lamar won, and then last year he won when I thought Lamar should have won. But I'm going chalk. I mean, I guess I could take an outlier pick, but if you look at who's going to win, it's going to be Mahomes, Burrow, or Allen. Those are the 3 best players in the NFL.
And then when the Bills go to the Super Bowl and they release the Super Bowl jerseys with the Super Bowl patch on it, we can get Burge one. We'll split it.
That's right. Absolutely. Who you got, Burge?
Yeah, Burge, any thoughts down there?
I'm going to be the lame-o. I think Lamar's going to win it again. He's going to feel slighted from last year. And there's something about the way that he plays the game that, Josh Allen can't even touch, in my opinion. And I'm just going to say that as the biased hater that I am, because anybody that's listened to me talk about Josh Allen, I will never say one nice thing about him, no matter how good he is. I won't do it. I won't do it. Lamar got snubbed last year. He makes up for it this year. I like you guys both. I wobble Joe, and if Joe hadn't gone first and I did, I probably would have picked Burrow too, but I'm going to go with Lamar for the sake of variety here.
All right, so who do you guys got for the non-quarterback MVP awards, the offensive and defensive player of the year? I'll let you guys go first since I've been kind of taking some easy guys off the board early.
I'm going to take Aiden Hutchinson. Well, I guess he could win a comeback player of the year too, but he's probably my favorite pass rusher of all the guys in the league. I mean, Watt and Myles Garrett obviously are great, but I'm a big Aiden Hutchinson guy. I think he bounces back big. Maybe he doesn't win the defensive player of the year. Maybe he settles for a comeback player of the year, but I think he's going to have a monster season. Burge, defense?
I was just going to go with my offense here, and then you can go.
Okay.
Is that cool? Yeah, I'm going to go with my offensive, and I'm going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs. I think that he's going to take over a bit there in Detroit. They have that 2-headed monster with David Montgomery and Gibbs up there. I think with Ben Johnson gone, you're going to see a little bit more focus on Gibbs in the offense this year. Me as a Amon-Ra St. Brown owner in fantasy, I'm a little worried as to what's going to happen up there with that offense. I just think that they're going to go with Gibbs is going to take another step forward here. With Montgomery's getting a little older too, so I think you're going to see him emerge more as a true number one.
Yeah, I was going to take Gibbs, but you took him from me, so I have to pivot quickly. And I'm going to say, I don't even know what the history of the league is in terms of offensive player of the year. I always feel like it's a running back, but I'm going to go a little bit of a dark horse and say Nico Collins. Only because I think statistically, I think he'll be good. I don't think the Texans are going to win the AFC South. But
Tank Dell's out for a little bit too. High volume.
I think
for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean their offensive line is horrible, so I'm a little concerned about that. Collins hasn't played a full season in his career to this point. Also a bit concerned, but I don't want to go chalk. I could have tried to take Jamar Chase, but typically a guy who wins the Triple Crown, in whether it's a running back or a receiver, they don't duplicate that the next year. So I think I'll have a great year, but maybe not worthy of offensive player of the year. Typically it goes to a running back. I would have, my real choice is Jahmyr Gibbs, but I'll take an outlier pick and go with Nico Collins.
Birch, who do you have for defensive player of the year?
This is a tough one. I coming into this, this offseason and stuff, I was all in on Christian Gonzalez this year. But
Same.
with him being hurt early on, to be honest, I didn't have a second one. My backup. Give me a go with your offense and give me a second here to think on this.
No, I'll just rip off both in a row. So I'll go offense, I'll go defense, and then I'll throw it back to you for your defense.
Yeah.
So my offensive player of the year, they got a rookie quarterback. I think they're going to be running the ball a lot. He's been nerfed a little bit the last couple of years. I think it's finally time that they start giving him a little bit larger of a workload. I think Bijan Robinson's going to have a big year. I think he has the talent. He's going to have the workload, and I think he can put up the numbers. Like you said, it's this is turning the MVP is turning back into a quarterback award, and the offensive player of the year is turning into a running back award. Especially after you win the Triple Crown and you don't win Offensive Player of the Year, but whatever.
That's right. Right.
But I like Bijan Robinson. He's a fun guy to watch. I think he has the potential to be an absolutely electric player. He could be one of those guys who put up like 1,500 rushing yards and like 600-700 receiving yards, win Offensive Player of the Year that way. And then Defensive Player of the Year, he's motivated. It looks like he's motivated even to play through injury after he got paid. Give me Micah Parsons on the Packers. I think they're going to be a team. They're going to be a team vying for a high seed in the playoffs. They're going to be a team playing late into January and February. Give me Micah Parsons to be an absolute monster on that defensive line.
All right, I'm going to go I think it's a little bit of a dark horse, maybe not so much, but Will Anderson with Houston. I think, Houston Joe, you and I were huge Houston Texan fans a few years ago when they started going, in the first year under DeMeco Ryans. He's an unbelievable player, and I'm still going to have a little bit of my Texans bias come out this season because I still want to see that team succeed, and I think Will Anderson will be a big part of it. So I was going to, after back in my brain, I was going to go with Parsons just showing up Dallas Cowboys, showing up how that all went down up in Green Bay. But yeah, I'll go with Will Anderson.
All right, so the last two are the offensive and defensive rookie of the year. We can get through these quick so we can get to our picks. Offensive rookie of the year, dude. I thought this was. I really don't have anybody else on my radar besides Alshon Jenti. I think he could have won offensive rookie of the year when he played for Boise State last year. That team got their absolute D's Caden on the first weekend of college football. It just showed how much of that, dude. There was fucking 9 guys in the box and he'd still run for like 250 yards. I think half of his yards were after contact last year in the college level. So give me Alshon Jenti as the offensive rookie of the year, especially Pete Carroll. He's a run the ball guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a funny joke about this. And then for the defensive rookie of the year, give me Abdul Carter. I think there's going to be so many guys you have to worry about on that defensive line that one of those guys is going to end up with like 13, 14, 15 sacks. So give me Abdul Carter with double-digit sacks to get the defensive player of the year.
Love that. I was going to take Abdul Carter. He's probably easily going to win. But I'll pivot. I'll say Jihad Campbell. He's going to be in Vic Fangio's system. Inside linebacker to start. I think there's going to be opportunities for him to potentially play on the edge. The Eagles are kind of thin on the edge, or at least inexperienced on the edge. So there might be some packages for him to play on the edge as well. But he'll start off as an inside linebacker. Again, being taught by Vic Fangio is going to help him immensely. He's a guy that I think Eagles fans weren't even sure he would be ready for the start of the season because of some health concerns. That's why he dropped as far as he did in the first round. Otherwise, he would have been a top 10 slam dunk pick. Just an incredible talent, very motivated because he slid in the first round. So he's going to have a great season, whether he wins the Defensive Rookie of the Year or not. Offensive Rookie of the Year, I'm a huge believer in Matthew Golden. He will, I think, instantly be the Packers' number 1 wide receiver because it looks like Jaden Reed is putting off surgery for a Jones fracture. And to my knowledge, there hasn't been any player who's had a Jones fracture who hasn't required surgery. So I'm not exactly sure why the Packers medical team is putting off surgery, but surgery would obviously put him out for the season. So he's going to be out. Matthew Golden, to me, is a dynamic player on a dynamic team that primarily leaned on the run last year. I don't know if Josh Jacobs is going to have as much success this year. So Jordan Love's going to have to throw it a little bit more. And he's got a couple good tight ends. Tucker Kraft probably is going to have a monster season as well. But to me, Matthew Golden instantly slots in as their number one wide receiver, and he is dynamic with the ball. He's a guy who can stretch the field. They're going to have some packages for him where he can run on like jet sweeps as well. He's going to be a difference maker, and I think at the end of the season, when you look at it statistically, he's going to put up some numbers that a lot of people probably would be surprised at, except me. That's why I'm picking him as the offensive rookie of the year.
For defensive rookie of the year, Mikel Williams up in San Francisco. I think that playing with Robert Saleh out there with San Francisco is going to be a great fit. He's had the benefit of practicing against Trent Williams in training camp, and obviously the 49ers invested a high pick in him. So I'd like to see where, I believe he's going to be the defensive rookie of the year. Offensive side, Mika Ibuka down in Tampa Bay. He's going to have a real opportunity down there early in the season with Chris Godwin still dealing with his injury and playing opposite of Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield throwing him the ball. Obviously, Liam Cohen is no longer there, so the offense is going to maybe look a little bit different. But, he was great at Ohio State, and I love the fact that he's got this opportunity early in the season to really carve out a permanent role with Tampa Bay. I like to think that he's going to be an absolute stud. So give me Mika Ibuka.
Well, speaking of Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, let's slide right into our picks. I'll lead off with mine. I like Tampa Bay this weekend, -2.5. Who the hell are they playing? I just had it in front of me. Falcons. Yeah, give me Baker Mayfield and the experienced Tampa Bay Buccaneers over Michael Penix and the inexperienced Falcons, laying 2.5. Laying less than a field goal, divisional game. I'm not too excited about them being I think they're on the road for this one, but I think early in the season, established veteran team versus a team with Michael Penix kind of still getting his feet wet in the NFL. Give me Tampa Bay.
All right. My first pick, I'm taking the Chargers +3 in Brazil against the Chiefs. Just basically what we talked about how the Chiefs have kind of slid a little bit closer to the pack, and obviously having, Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh playing in LA. I love the Chargers this year too. So give me them +3 against the Chiefs to start the season off on the right foot.
Yo, fun fact about Brazil. I have a bone to pick. They deny they're Wright brother deniers. Wright brother deniers. They don't, how North Carolina, their license plate says first in flight?
You're talking to a guy that knows all that stuff.
Dude. Yeah, hey, Brazil, if you're listening, fucking pipe down with that shit, dude. All right? Sorry, go ahead.
I'm taking my first pick. I'm taking the Lions. The Lions are getting points. A 15-win team getting 2.5 points. I know it's a division rival at Green Bay, and I just talked about how great Matthew Golden's going to be and how good the Packers are. But anytime you can get points, for the Lions, to me, I think they win the game outright. I think it's a fun game, maybe the most entertaining game of the week one slate. Lions +2.5. To me, it's a no-brainer, which obviously means I won't win. But I'm looking at this thinking, I can't believe the Lions are getting points, so I'm taking the Lions.
No, whenever you see the plus points next to like a team that you think is really good, like it's kind of hard not to bet that. It's like, dude.
Yeah, they got two new coordinators. I get it. They got two new coordinators, but you know what team had two new coordinators last year and did pretty well? The Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, ever fucking heard of them? Vegas. I like that pick a lot. I like the Lions. They're still a fun. Isn't it hilarious how they've been good for like 3 years and we're just still like, oh, the lovable shitty Lions. They're finally doing it again. But my next pick, I like Carolina +3.5 over the to cover versus the Jaguars. I know we got some differing opinions coming up here, but I thought Bryce Young was really coming on at the end of last year. I think adding a guy like McMillan. I think adding a guy like McMillan really helps their offense. I think Chuba Hubbard's a good back. I think they've got a lot of good pieces in place. I don't know if I said before this podcast, I think I might like them to win outright. After a strong case that that Manish has put on, has laid out here today. I don't know about winning this game outright, but getting more than a field goal here when they had a hot end to the last season. Where I think the Jags kind of went out with a little bit of a whimper. I think kind of playing the wave there. So give me Carolina plus 3.5.
All right. I'm going with a AFC East division rival, the Patriots, with my second pick. I'm taking the Miami Dolphins plus 1.5 over the Colts. I am not a believer in Daniel Jones. I know he beat out Anthony Richardson there in Indianapolis, but I am not a believer in
I beat
Daniel
my
Jones.
3-year-old nephew in a foot race the other day. I don't have a nephew. I'm an only child. I don't know why I said that.
Yeah, I think the Colts are going to be a very bad team this year. I don't think that they're going to be anything. Not that I'm saying Miami's going to be anything good, but I'm as you'll find the trend with my picks, I'm picking all underdogs in week 1, so I'm sticking with it. And yeah, give me the Dolphins plus 1.5 to make me some money.
I'm going to take the exact opposite side of the Jags-Panthers game, Joe. I'm taking the Jags, after I wax poetic about how great Liam Cohen is and blah, blah, blah. The Panthers' defense is atrocious. You can run all over him. You can pass all over him. And when you have a new head coach who's an offensive play caller, typically, he'll throw out all the stops in week 1. I think Trevor Lawrence has a monster game. I think Travis Hunter has a good debut in the NFL. I think nobody can stop Ryan Thomas on Carolina's defense. And, a sneaky injury on Carolina is Jalen Coker, who landed on IR. He's one of the wide receivers from a year ago who really surprised some people. Even though I am, like you, a huge fan of Ted McMillan, I think there's just not enough firepower there. In my estimation, I think the Jags score. They score at will. And this could also be another entertaining game. But ultimately, I'll lay the 3.5 and take Jacksonville on the road, I guess, or are they in Jacksonville?
No, I think they're in
Not
Jacksonville.
sure. Okay, they're in Jacksonville, then I'd probably lay 4.5. So
Panthers
I'll lay
at
the
Jags.
Okay, I'm laying the 3.5
right now too.
Yeah, I think it's a big debut for the new head coach and the start of something special for Trevor Lawrence this season.
I think part of the thing with me with Tech McMillan is I'm such a sucker for a cool name. What a cool fucking name. All right, my last pick here is kind of like literally just like Manisha said. He fucking waxed. I waxed poetic about this team the entire podcast. I think I like the approach you're taking this year. I don't think they did a crazy amount on the defensive side of the ball, but I think they did what they could with the money that they had after they paid fucking everybody under the sun. But give me Cincinnati minus 5.5. I think they are on the road versus the Browns. I think the Browns, they paid Myles Garrett. I don't know what else you could say they did this offseason besides draft 8 quarterbacks, cut 7, and then trade. So I just think the Browns, they're headed in the wrong direction. They still have the whole Deshaun Watson shit hanging over them. I think the Bengals are headed in the other direction. I think they've got good momentum after how they played at the end of last year, after the slow start they got off to. I think they addressed the fact that they have slow starts. So I really think, dude, I would have laid 6.5, 7.5 on this line. I think 5.5. You can get it on DraftKings at minus 108 right now, so you got a little bit of juice off the normal minus 110 number. But I love the Bengals. I love this minus 5.5 line here. So yeah, give me Bengals laying 5.5 in Cleveland.
New season, same haterade coming out of my mouth. Baltimore Ravens plus 1.5 versus the Buffalo Bills. Lamar Jackson starts off his MVP campaign with a little bit of revenge from last playoffs. Gets the win in Buffalo. I don't know. Are they in Buffalo? They are in Buffalo. So he's going to go up to Orchard Park and it's going to spoil the start of the season for those Buffalo Bills fans. And you're going to be hearing a lot of that from me this year. It's not going to stop. It's never going to change.
Did you say you're getting 1.5?
I'm sorry, minus 1.5. I meant minus 1.5. Minus 1.5. Yeah,
right.
I said it wrong. Yep.
No fake news on this podcast. We redact.
No, it's not gonna. It doesn't matter. It wouldn't change my pick either way.
That could have been. I could have put a 0 somewhere in there, and fucking Bears just like, I'm
Minus
still in.
minus 10.5. Give him to me.
Honestly, no. I think you're right though. I think the spite factor and the whole MVP thing is going to come into play here. I think I have legitimate questions about the Bills' offense. It's basically Josh Allen, James Cook, and then two guys who have shown flashes but are still super young and unproven guys, and Kincaid and Coleman. So I don't know. They got their defense is aging just like it is every year. I think McDermott is, for lack of a better term, an idiot, and I think it's going to be the Josh Allen show. It's just a little bit less of a supporting cast, I think.
Yeah, Bills over 49ers in the Super Bowl, FYI.
Oh,
my last pick, since we spent half this podcast talking about Mike Vrabel, and neither one of you guys had the cojones to pick the Patriots in the Patriots-Raiders game, I'll take the Patriots as home favorites, 2.5-point favorites. A Pete Carroll revenge game coming back to Foxborough. I'm sure he's already played at Foxborough a million times after being a head coach there, but I'm not a big believer in the Raiders this season. I am actually a big believer in Pete Carroll, but I just think that Mike Vrabel at home, all the reasons that we outlined earlier in the podcast, he's not losing his first game as the Patriots head coach. 2.5 points, I'll take it. I think it's a big game for Drake May with his arm, with his legs. I think Travion Henderson has one or two splash plays in which people turn their head and say, how did this guy drop to the second round? So I think it's a big day for the Patriots. They kick off the season much like they did last year with a win.
Don't bring up last year. We don't do that.
They were 1-0 last year.
Yeah.
They'll be 1-0 this year.
Fucking dumpster fire, dude. It's just the worst thing that ever happened.
He's triggering us at the end of this thing. He's triggering us.
Well, the thing is so I want to talk two things real quick before we get out of here. Number one, Scott Hansen, you sell out F&P, dude. I cannot believe that they sold Red Zone to ESPN and immediately put commercials on it. What is the point of the product? Why can I not pay for something and that be it? Right? You have to sign up, watch an ad, fucking wait through this 90-second unskippable. Shut up. There's something every time they get you every fucking time. I'm paying $7 a month for fucking Red Zone. I'm paying $7 a month. The price didn't change. They're just getting more money. That's it. That's the only thing that changes. Is somebody who has way more money than me now has more of it. That's the only thing that changes. It is so aggravating. Just games exclusively on Netflix. Got to pay $7 a month for that. Oh, you want to watch the NBA this year? Bend over. It's coming. It's uneffing believable how difficult. Oh, we're seeing a downturn in viewership on the networks. Oh, what? I can't find the game. I cannot find the game. Where's the game? Where is the game playing? What subscription? Oh, I can't pay Spectrum $35 a month extra for Sunday Ticket. I have to get YouTube TV. Have to pay for YouTube TV. So I can't have cable and NFL Sunday Ticket and Red Zone all in one package. I've got to pay for 6 effing fucking things just to watch the Patriots 10 times this year.
You're a sucker.
It is incredible, and that goes to my second thing. If the Pats suck this year, I'm already locked in for $300 for NFL Sunday Ticket, so I will be lighting this house on fire if they suck.
In fairness, great rant. In fairness to Scott Hansen, it's probably above his pay grade, so I wouldn't blame Scott for the commercials on the Red Zone.
His pay grade is probably the effing reason they had to sell out for fucking ESPN and start putting ads on it. Hey, Scotty Hansen, how about you take one for the fucking team, buddy?
You knew the minute that it went to ESPN that this was coming. I know it just got announced.
Ruined.
You knew it was coming.
The minute it went to ESPN, they were going to ruin it, dude. I'm surprised that they didn't shove fucking some Pat McAfee on there, dude. Just scream.
They ruin everything they touch. They ruin everything they touch. They ruin the NHL. They ruin everything that they touch, man.
I can't stand it, dude. I can't. Let's just fire fucking everybody who makes sense. Let's fire them all. Fire them, and let's just put ads
Disney.
on Red
It's
Zone.
too big. It's too big.
Hey guys, here's my great executive idea I bring to the table. I get millions of dollars a year. Here's what we're gonna do: fire everyone. Randy Moss, he's great on the coverage. Fire his ass. Fuck him. What else? What are we gonna do with that money? Buy Red Zone and put ads on it. Now that guy's driving a Bentley, and I'm gonna get into a 5-year-old fucking Dodge with 90,000 miles on it. God, makes me so aggravated, dude. Who's paying for it? Me. Who's
Yeah.
happy to slap the credit card? Fuck it, dude. I'm watching the Pats, dude. Screw it. Sorry. It gets me. I'm getting so old, dude, because I was such a cord-cutting millennial, like when I first moved out and I did all the streaming shit and all that stuff. And now I'm like, bundle and save. Let's go. $80 a month for our phone plan because we have Spectrum. Let's go. Hey, here's coming the fucking here it comes, dude. Here it comes. Guess what you can't watch? America's Pastime. Oh my God, dude. It's so aggravating. Oh, and guess what? I wanted to pay for a commercial package from Spectrum to get NFL Sunday Ticket. No, your lot's not zoned commercial. Sorry, sir. I'm like, okay, whatever. Go to the zoning board. Hey, I'm here to talk about NFL Sunday Ticket. Sir, our time here is valuable. All right, I'm done. All right, boys. You guys, anything else you want to get off your chest? Hail Marys before the season starts. Any predictions? Any premonitions you want to throw out there?
I'm good. I'm good.
That's a great ending. That was a great ending.
Yeah, sometimes I get a little fired up, dude. It just comes out. Just sometimes you can't put the genie back in the bottle. Sometimes you gotta let it grant some wishes.
We're gonna have to save the Belichick talk for when he wins his second game. Now you didn't even hit on that.
He's going to be the University of fucking I've never heard of fucking 51-0. And Birds, you could be like, see, Joe? See?
And it's gonna work. It's gonna work. It's gonna just
Jordan Hudson's going to get the call of QB sneak on
throw
the
the
goal line
grenade,
with the headset on.
Run away. That's what it's gonna be. Chuck the grenade, run away. That's all I do.
All right. This has been the inaugural episode of podcast to be named later. I'm Joe. That's Manation Bearish. We've had a lot of fun with you guys. We'll catch you soon.
Peace.